1956 Dodge truck. They're called a job-rated truck. In the truck world of old classic trucks, everyone knows a Chevy truck, everyone knows a Ford truck. The old Mopar trucks are basically frowned upon, and honestly, they're pretty hideous creatures. You see very few of these old trucks built and done up, especially at the higher level of the trucks. So our thought was, let's really lay a truck out. And we started a couple years ago in my head. I was kicking this idea around. I've had we do a lot of cars when we drive them for a little while myself. I've driven a 04 Viper truck for a while. Like the truck and stuff, but as always, you just kind of move on from the cars. So a couple more years went by, I was like, man, those trucks would be sweet, but let's really lay out an old truck. So started kind of going on the look for a truck for when Reverence was wrapping up. So probably about a year ago or so, we came across a family in California. This is an original family. It's been 3 generations, all in California his whole life. And the family right now just couldn't carry the build on. Some of the generations had passed. The current owners just weren't interested. It was sitting in a storage locker in California. And they quite frankly just need out of the storage locker. It was pretty much going to get gone through anyway. I didn't want the truck to get scrapped. So randomly, as big as California is, one of my college roommates happened to be like 15 miles from where his truck was. Called him up, got it out of there, got the truck in here. The truck's been sitting here for probably a year and a half. So as Reverence was wrapping up last year, started kicking around my head, we're going to do a Viper truck. So just like an 04 Viper truck, solid rear axle, Viper motor, all stuff. And then we start going, and Reverence is really taking off. And we're like, gotta one up this thing once. So we're like, let's do independent rear suspension. Let's track this just like a Viper does. And then Vipers in the front, from us not familiar, have a ridiculous frame rail system in here. Having a real hard time getting a Viper with a decent frame when they wreck. Their front frame rails are always hit. They're always hit somewhere. I have a lot of back frame rails. I didn't have a bunch of front frame rails. So personally, I've had a 2004 Viper, supercharged, all loaded out. It's been my personal driver for probably the last 10 years, which for me is ridiculous. I don't keep any car long at all. Really liked the car, had the car forever. And I drove it in last November and put it away for winter, and never, ever, 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 honestly in 1,000 years, I thought I'd cut my car. As we had to get rolling for, hopefully make SEMA this year, realized I needed a car, so took my car apart. The cool part about taking my car apart is 'cause 3 years I've upped my car. I got coilovers on my car, got a supercharger on it, got stop tech brakes, updated my diff, all this stuff. So I got long tubes on it, had a lot of stuff done to my car. I got a clutch in it. So in terms of going into my car, it gave me a lot of stuff to do. The issue is when you start building a car and a truck on paper, we measure this out way before we do this. Get a bunch of cardboard, a bunch of tape down here, painter's tape. We sit here and tape this whole thing out. In my head, fab guy, we're going over, and he's like, phew, the motor's gonna be living deep in here. You realize it's gonna be living deep until you actually start setting this thing in here. She's living deep in there. So we've actually, this is our second body set on this thing. Originally our shifter was honestly in the back glass. We've moved up a little bit, so we have our frame extensions going on. Our plan on this Viper is so getting into this thing, we realize now that this truck is going to become just like Reverence. This thing's going to really start to take off. So how do you make this truck better than what it is, but also stay original? So one of the big selling components to me on a 1956 truck is these things almost have, I call them a butterfly hood. I'm sure as a Mopar historian out there is going to rip that apart. I don't know the real name. They have a nice line down the middle, and their hoods pop open. To me, that's a real cool look on a car because you just don't see current hoods that split down the middle and pop open. That's what honestly sold me on the truck. The truck overall, quite frankly, being honest, the fenders kind of have some awful styling. We don't even have a grill for this thing. We're still working to get a grill. And you guys out there got a 56 front grill, hit us up. Or we'll end up making one. But going through this truck, the only thing I really liked about this truck was the hood. I didn't like really anything about this truck. I think the fenders are hideous. But we start going through, like, we'll make this thing cool. We'll start reworking everything. But then you get in these old trucks, and you guys have driven these things as Americans, people, whoever have got bigger, you don't fit in these things that well. So unless you want to drive with the old steering wheel, the spot us guys don't want to have, that sucks. So what we're going to do on the inside is we're going to basically make this a true Viper. And this is how these trucks, and basically as we go through, they start to evolve. We're going to run Viper seats in this thing. We're going to run a Viper console in this thing. So basically the inside of this thing is going to be a Viper, and then we're going to basically, we talk about cutting it down the middle, taking our cab back. We talk about elongating our cab just behind here. We talk about all these fab ideas on how to make us space to fit a current person in this thing. We don't really like a lot of them. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our floor pockets and basically take our floor forward. That way we're not changing the cab part back in here. So it's gonna still give you everyone always thinks you gotta go back. We're gonna go forward with our cab. Possibly a little bit different thing. I know people have done it, but we like the idea of going forward, keeping this where it's at. Our tunnel and stuff's gonna be in here, a true 2-seat truck. And then we're gonna work all of our stuff in this truck. So what are some other cool things you do with a truck like this? Well, easy. We gotta fix the wheel wells. That's gonna save the fenders. A lot of these trucks, when they get built in the back of this thing, the big thing for me personally is not just me personally. I don't love when trucks per se lose their bed on these custom builds. As you see right now, our Viper is high, really high. We're gonna solve that. I wanna keep a bed in the back of this thing. Our bed is gonna probably be no higher than there, and honestly, I'm gonna try to be lower than that. Not that I really expect someone in a show truck to just go pick up mulch or whatever and drive all around. The point of it is I wanna make sure that people going into a truck like this, it still keeps the appearance of a truck. When we do our reskins, or our rebuys as people call them, I want to keep the truck as what it is, but also keep it functional. So in this thing, we're gonna have to do a couple little mini tubs in the back to keep our wheel wells. We gotta run the big meats, we're on the 19x13 factory Vipers, but we're keeping a bed in here. We've also been kicking around across the back, as you see how hideous these trucks are. They got a weird gap and a weird line in here. Tentatively right now, this all depends. This needs set before body mods start, and you're getting another SRTX exclusive here. I think we're gonna chop our top on this. I'm not 100% sure which way we're raking this top or which way we're gonna do this thing. Obviously, you get the old Roadster look where you take a top, you give it a really slight, really aggressive look. I am more or less going to do a really small looking look on this thing and basically eliminate somewhere in here to keep this very stock looking, but also get rid of this ridiculous gap in here. So tentatively right now we're talking about a small chop, a 2 to 3 inch chop in here. Bring this down and get rid of this in here, because some of the ugliest styling points to me on this truck are this ridiculous height here and some of that front stuff. When we do a car like this in supercharged, we'll still factor in a cold air system into it. I love cold air into these things. We're going to run side pumps just like a Viper would, so we're going to pipe right out the side on this. Give or take, we're going to be piping right through here. Underneath, we'll build right through here. We'll build right. Frame-wise, it's going to be basically a tube frame like a Viper. It's going to very mimic a Viper frame. We're going to get rid of a lot of the other stuff, make it a very pretty frame, but it'll be just as functional as a Viper. Bodywork-wise, kind of figure that out as we go, what little stylings on body point we're going to do. It'll have all the modern amenities. Tee-hee-hee, all you Viper guys, there are no amenities in a Viper. We're probably going to run a Viper dash just to keep the theme of the inside of it. So yeah, that's our 56 job ready truck.